By the time he was 12, he'd been promoted twice. Rank, he discovered early on, carried untold privileges, and he'd learned to use each and every one to his own advantage. He knew how to wheel and deal, to hustle the lower classmen and strike fear into the skinny little boys with their glasses and protruding teeth. Coleman liked power. At the end of the term, he was acknowledged as the undisputed head of E Wing, Zone 5. Now, how was it going to look if he didn't go on this European trip because his mommy said no? When Cole closed the door behind him, Maggie's shoulders slumped. She couldn't allow him to ruin things for her, but she couldn't give in to him either. He was still a child, looking to her for direction and challenging her at the same time. Coleman was so different from her younger brother, Riley. At 16, Riley had been warm and caring, his gentle, unspoiled nature and charismatic charm attracting people to him. Anyone who knew Riley loved him. He'd been all the things her son wasn't, and probably never would be. Maggie didn't need anyone to tell her where she'd failed Coleman. Caught up in her own life, her own despairs, she'd never really been there for him. How could she have handled a small boy's problems when she hadn't been able to cope with her own? And her marriage to Cranston had been on a downhill slide for the past 7 years. She'd hung on, telling herself that she had to keep the family together for Coleman's sake. In truth, she'd hung on so long because there was nowhere else to go. No one else to go to. That Maggie Coleman Tanner hadn't liked herself very much, and her low self-esteem had only added to her fears of being alone. As long as Cranston hadn't made any moves to end their marriage, neither had she. But at last her self-loathing had spilled over onto Cranston, and after she'd started drinking too much as well, he'd left her. Maggie shook her head as though to clear it. She didn't want to think about all that now. Not today. She'd come a long way from that desperate, unhappy woman. She was still uncertain about this new person she wanted to become, but she'd taken long strides. Pap leaving Sunbridge to her had done that. Given her a kind of assurance that she did belong somewhere, that she was loved, that she hadn't been overlooked by the one person who'd been more important to her than any other. Pap. All her life she'd wanted his approval, his love. She'd been such a mixed-up kid, and then such a hostile, mixed-up woman. But she was determined to change all that, and now, for the first time, she felt success was within her grasp. No, she wouldn't think about Coleman now. She wouldn't let anything spoil this day. The colorful Japanese lanterns strung around the front yard were perfect. They wound in and out of Grandmam Jessica's rose garden and down toward the long, winding drive. They'd be lighted at dusk, just as the guests began to arrive. That's when the orchestra would begin to play. And later on, when the food was served, the piano player would pound out Scott Joplin tunes in accompaniment to a banjo. Billy would probably choke when she saw the ice sculpture of a rearing stallion where champagne would cascade through transparent tubes. Maggie shrugged. Tacky, of course, but expected. It would keep Austin buzzing for weeks. The hot July sun beat down with merciless intensity, and she was glad she'd chosen the colorful striped tent awnings that sprawled across the lawns. It all looked so gay. Funny how something as banal as acres of yellow and white canvas could make her feel so good. The surprise of the evening would be the special fireworks that would be displayed over the pond behind the house. Even Coleman would approve of the millions of starbursts that would light up Sunbridge at midnight. A stray breeze caressed Maggie's shoulder. Soon it would be time to dress for the family's arrival. She planned to wear one of her mother's original designs, a Christmas gift.